This is Selling Seven Figures with your host, Kevin Mullaney. Join him in a panel of 4 high-achieving distributors and start crushing your sales goals.
Welcome to Selling Seven Figures, a monthly mini-series designed to help distributor salespeople crush their goals. I'm your host, Kevin Mullaney. Today, these 4 brave distributors are going to be facing rapid-fire questions on all aspects of sales, from best resources that have shaped their approach to strategies for building rapport, handling objections, and staying motivated during slumps. Join us for some practical advice, honest answers, maybe even a little inspiration. I am joined by our favorite foursome, as always, Amanda Clay from Walker Clay, Nanette Gray from Lemonade Creative Marketing, Katie Kaler from American Solutions for Business, and David Keneally from Brand Hero Geiger. Let's dive in and see what these dynamos have to say. So, we're going to start with an icebreaker, and this one's going to be a fun one because we've got a birthday in the group. Happy birthday, David!
Hey, David, happy birthday!
So we're going to spin it around, and I'll start to give you all some warm-ups because I just shocked the world and shocked this foursome that this was going to be our icebreaker. We're going to go with favorite birthday memory. Mine will be the year I turned 21, and I remember it all. And we had a nice little backyard party and got in a ton of trouble at college. So that's mine. My nickname in college was Mazel. We called it Mazel Palooza. There were banners, there were bans, and violations were thrown around from the university. So who wants to follow that up? Nanette, you ready?
Oh my gosh, well, mine's boring compared to that. A couple of years ago, I got a chance to spend my birthday in Utah. Now, I'm from Louisiana, so we traveled to Utah to hike all over the state. So started in Salt Lake, went down to Zion, over to Moab, back to Salt Lake. But Utah is an amazingly beautiful state. And I didn't get kicked out of anywhere, but we did experience a lot of great nature. So it was fun.
That sounds awesome. Katie, how about yours?
So mine's a throwback. I remember having like a bead making party with all my friends in elementary school. And I just love that all these 90s trends are now returning. And we have, even the beaded bracelets in our space. So it's so fun to think about those.
I'm quite embarrassed that I'm not wearing the one that my daughter gave me. And you're absolutely right. Nice, safe, creative way to celebrate a birthday. Mandy, what you got, girl?
I'm going to go with 30th birthday. I went on a trip with Heather, so we went to Atlantis down the Bahamas, so that was fun.
Paradise, some might say. And the birthday boy himself. How do you like being the center of the attention of the podcast here, David? I know
it's a little uncomfortable, but that's okay. My favorite birthday memories are when I was a child, having a single parent, being a lonely only child. Birthdays were a big deal. There were clowns, there were carousels. There was everyone that was in my class, my friends from the street. My mom knew how to throw a bash.
That's awesome. Well, we hope everyone in the street comes over today and helps celebrate you. So thanks for joining us on your big day. So these are going to be rapid fire questions. We're going to hit them. We're going to hit them quick. Mandy, I'm going to start with you. First question we're going to go is a pretty good one to break the ice with. What's the best way to build rapport with your clients or maybe someone at a networking event?
I would say be yourself. Like, I like to work with people I know, like, and trust. So I just try to talk to them in the way that I would want to be talked to. So I think the biggest thing is for me to be authentically myself. And if that doesn't work for a client, there's probably somebody else that might be a better fit for them. And like, I'm totally okay with that, because it's more fun when I enjoy what I'm doing. Same side on my customer side is that I think there's a right person for everyone, and it makes our job easier and more fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love how honest you are about that. You might not be the right fit for everyone, and finding that out early. Katie, Nanette, then David. So Katie, what about you?
Ask questions. Everyone loves to talk about themselves.
You are talking to a person who loves to talk. Yes, absolutely. Couldn't agree with that. Get them talking, get them getting excited. That's exactly right. Nanette?
The opposite of that in terms of active listening. So when they're talking, make sure that you're present and you're listening, and also remembering small details from previous conversations.
So good. Great feedback so far, team. David, how about you?
Um, Listening, but then finding commonality. Where do your paths cross professionally, personally? Where can they relate to you? Where can you relate to them?
I love it. Absolutely. Transitioning to the follow-up rapid fire, you get back from a networking event or a big show and you have some different priorities. How do you prioritize those leads, David?
First off, I make sure that it's the type of customer that I want. Are they doing a decent level of volume? Can they withstand? Are they big enough to have a company store? And are they the right fit? I love what I do? I have a passion for what I do. I want to make sure I'm passionate about their businesses. So it has to be a right fit. And that's a gut check for me. You have to know that.
I love it. Nanette, what about you? How do you prioritize?
Well, David pretty much stole my thunder, and I was just going to say, fit my client profile, and because it's a really good use of your time if they fit your client profile. However, if they don't, if they're only wanting $100 worth of merch, you need to kind of not prioritize them, because sometimes those are the loudest ones. But for those that actually fit the client profile.
Awesome. Katie, Mandy?
Everything that David and Annette said, but also there's just something about a gut feeling on, who you should really be excited about and prioritize.
And then if I was coming back from an event, I'd probably like organize my contacts and then write like a follow-up plan for like that show, so that I knew like what my level of follow-up was going to be. Because we all know that like it'd be nice that every time I emailed or called somebody, they answered the first time, but I would set up a follow-up schedule for that.
Yeah, and one more thing that I was thinking about was hot leads. Sometimes we come across a hot lead that might take priority or precedence over other things, but making sure we strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I think timing is really the key in sales. You're catching people at the right time. Someone may have just maybe dropped the ball and you've been reaching out to a prospect for a long time. That's great timing. And then also you nailed it, is if someone's got an event coming up, those people typically get moved to the top of your agenda as far as things are needed to take care of when you're following up from those events. So that's super helpful. Thank y'all. I think this is a really great question because I'm the one that's asking it. What's the biggest challenge that y'all are facing right now?
Wait, say that again. What's the biggest what?
The biggest challenge that you're facing right now in sales. And Nanette, we'll start with you, okay?
I think cutting through the noise in a very saturated market, because there are a lot of distributors that are available, and being able to have your unique selling profile and differentiation to be able to cut through the noise.
Really good. Katie?
For me, it's really been having a personal balance has been challenging right now, and determining how to prioritize and efficiently train new team members. An ongoing challenge, it seems.
And Katie, y'all are, for the most part, everyone's remote. Is that correct? Or are people coming
We
in
actually
central
have a
office?
group in Denver. So we have a group in Denver, and a lot of our teams in Denver, our warehouse is in Denver. So I'm one of the few remote team members, which makes it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah,
I'm
I
also
find
getting
that.
married in 60 days, so I think that's also top of mind of how do you find that work-life balance.
That's really awesome, and congratulations. I think going back to the idea of training and remote work, I think it is much more difficult, personal opinion, to train via Zoom. The idea of having someone shadow you over your shoulder literally is more helpful than someone sharing your screen, to be perfectly candid. I just think there's maybe some more distractions. And then again, the amount of just kind of gray area that may come up. So it's certainly been a challenge, in my opinion, over these past 5 years since the pandemic hit, when everything really went remote.
I agree. And there's something to be said about just like being in the room together, almost learning through osmosis of just seeing everything that's happening.
That's exactly right. Mandy, what about you? What are you facing right now that you're struggling with?
I feel like, and it's probably true for like the people on this panel, like when we start to hear like flat economy or like the industry's flat, all of us are like personal challenge. Like we're all competitive. We're like personal challenge. I'm not going to be that. So I think that for like probably the last year, I've been laying the groundwork and all of those things kind of hit. So I'm with Katie where like there's like, you're kind of good, your team is perfect, and then all of a sudden you get 3 or 4 new accounts and you're like, like things kind of come in peaks and valleys. So I think I'm kind of at that peak right now. I'm also, we had a new baby welcome to the Walker Clay family, so covering the paternity leave, not mine, one of the girls from my team. So just managing that, and it's only a few weeks in, so I think just kind of managing that right now, but it'll kind of settle out because it kind of has that like up and down. But I think I'm with Katie where it's kind of like, all right, how do you balance that out? But it kind of comes and goes. So
yeah. Okay, great. David, how about you?
I would say production partner challenges. Mistakes on orders are at an all-time high. Finding a need to request pictures all the time before stuff ships. And you don't get pictures. Oh, no, we did it right. Well, you know what? No, the glasses were the wrong SKU. The imprint color was wrong. What are you doing? The mistakes right now, it's embarrassing.
Do you mind if I follow up on that there, David? Do you budget any time? I'm not sure if anyone on this call is like a time blocker where they're prospecting from 10 to 11 or whatever. Do you all plan for that in a human error, mistake riddled industry? Do you put any time on your calendar, David, and I'll carry that around for everyone for the fires to be put out? Or is that just something that you have to unfortunately fit in the day?
I don't plan the time because I'm a tremendously positive thinker and I want to bring that good karma and deliver those orders. But if I had to look back on last week, I would say 80 to 90% of my week was spent putting out massive fires. Luckily, we fixed it and made it right for the client, but it sucked the life out of me. And with more weeks like that, I don't know if I'd be in the industry much longer. I can't make the stuff up that happened last week. It's that bad.
All right, we might have another episode coming on. David's dark and dirty orders, but we'll see if we can put that on the agenda for later. Nanette, again, we love your story and your company. How much time do you focus on the lemon trees and growing good organic fruit, and how much time are you spent trying to make lemonade out of lemons?
Well, I mean, I'm not quite 90% like David was last week, but there have been an increase of fires. And no, I act like every day everything's going to be utopia and perfect. And it's like, oh my God, a fire. And then having to shift the time to focus on it. But unfortunately, I don't block for it. But that's actually a good idea.
Yeah. Katie, Mandy, anything you want to add on that?
I'm a fan of like loose time blocking. I have a couple hours blocked every day, and then I have customer meetings, but then I sort of plan on the rest of the day being everything else, which is hopefully not fires, but there's always questions or follow up or things that you're working on.
I think I've also like seen some of these fires and stuff, but I also try to like look at it from both sides. So like when there's a fire, like, all right, we understand there's a lot of fires, so let's go back to our team and just make sure like, hey, before you send orders in, make sure there's no questions on them. Make sure everything is 100% clear. Like what's clear, like it's 100% clear to you so that when it gets to the supplier, there's no questions. So I think taking a little bit more time to do that, making sure that we're taking the time to like check acknowledgements, make sure the SKUs match, make sure everything's correct, saves those fires later. So some of it's just looking into our process and saying like last year, maybe I didn't have to do that because those things were caught, but like right now I do. So I think some of it's looking back on our own process and be like, okay, like what can we do to make this more clear so that we don't run into those fires, but they're still happening. I agree with David.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep going off the topic here because Lori might kill me after this is all said and done, but I feel like we're really getting somewhere specific to y'all's industry. we're seeing a lot of mergers and acquisitions, whether that's on the distributor side or the supplier side. I think we just saw, again, spoiler alert, pre-recorded podcast. David's not going to have a birthday in a month or so when this is
21.
exactly right. So just saw a big one with Alpha Broder and SNS. And again, I feel like, it was slow for a couple of months. When you see stuff like that happen, okay, do you immediately say, okay, great, I'm going to go all in with these companies. This is the type of merger I'm looking to see? Or what we have maybe seen in the past with some very large mergers where trying to sync up systems and softwares and warehouses doesn't necessarily go smooth. If you don't mind, and again, I apologize for going off topic, I'll start with you, Katie. When you see something like that happen, like it did today, two really big, I'd imagine you're relying on both of those suppliers fairly heavily. What goes through your head? And I'd love to hear y'all's feedback on this.
Sure. I would say I'm fairly positive, but when I saw that email come through, the first thing in my head is, how's this going to affect my programs? How's this going to affect? I have like 3-4 things. I'm like, how's this going to affect everything? Which none of those questions can be answered today. But I think just based on what we've all lived through, I'm very cautious of mergers and acquisitions, whether it be our partners or even our customers. We're seeing a lot of that right now as well. So there's always when it's our customers, it's go, 100%, stop, go, stop. So their mergers and acquisitions definitely bring a lot of challenges.
Yeah, I agree. This is an optimistic group, so I'm surrounded by people that I love, but also we're realists, right? Like we've got to start being that first line of defense for our clients when preparing them to place an order or a program or these. They typically don't know when these two companies merge. It's really on us to educate them and point out the landmines that could happen when partnering with some of these folks in these programs. But Nanette, would love to hear your perspective when you see a big one like this. What happened today?
Very cautiously optimistic. In the past, with the very large supplier companies, when they've acquired others, just as it was mentioned, the processes, they never merge cleanly, and so there's pain points that you experience. It's varying degrees, but I've had one supplier I had to not do business with for an entire year because of all of the pain points that occurred as a result of the merger. So I'm cautiously optimistic. These are two big ones that we use, so we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, very good. And then David, you've actually got probably two different perspectives from your old experience on kind of the buying side with some of these big brands. But what happens in your world when you see something like today's news?
Well, in the SNS case, I don't know because I'm not sure who owns SNS, but more in the M&A when the Wall Street gets involved, the venture capitalists. Name one supplier in our industry that actually prospered after gotten bought by big business. Granted, there's an influx of money there, but they're looking to keep a company, a brand, and flip it in 3 to 5 years or something. And generally speaking, the customer service falls off. I don't want to name any names. There's a couple companies that have fared pretty well after the first year, and they're still out there. They do a good job for us. I'll say a couple. Hub, I think, has been doing pretty well for me, even though they got bought. Snugs has been doing an excellent job for me. But then I'm not going to say any of these names, but there's a lot of other companies that were purchased, and I try not to use them anymore. They're running lean. They want to sell it and spin it off, and they're not doing it for me. So generally, I don't love when big banks come in and make those purchases. Those venture capital companies. And that's one of the reasons I work for Geiger. I love representing and being a family business and keeping the money in our pockets and invest in our people and doing business with Sanmar. They're my favorite to work with because they're owned, by the family. And I think that's brilliant. So any business I can throw there, I will. So long-winded answer, sorry.
Hopefully you'll respect this, and hopefully it'll double down on your experience. When I met with Sanmar, they moved a facility out towards Richmond, Virginia, out in Ashland, over 1 million square footage of facility. Guess who's unloading the truck? The first truck that arrived when I got Marty and Jeremy.
Wow.
Literally unloading the truck of the first batch of things. Wild. I get chills even thinking about that. How cool is that, right? Talk about servant leadership, always having a pulse. Speaking of pulse, anytime something happens in the industry, I'm usually getting a text from Mandy. So I think we haven't caught your feedback, but when you see these types of mergers, you're always, I don't know, like I feel like they have to run this by you before they run this by the federal government, right? Are you sure this is going to work?
Yeah,
What does your headspace go with your experience being in the industry for a long time?
Yeah, I feel like some of the big ones, like I've always just really relied on my reps, and like I think David mentioned Snugs, and they had a big acquisition. Like my rep was on top of it. I like did things change during like timelines change? Yeah, they did, and I would call and be like, hey, I have this project. Like this is the timeline I have for it. Like, is this gonna work? And if he said yeah, like this will work, I'd give him an order. If it didn't, then it didn't. But because I had that relationship, our business never kind of hurt with them because we were very clear and consistent like with my reps. So I think the biggest thing for me is clear communication with my reps and just being like, hey, listen, if you can't do it, just let me know and it's totally okay. I'll come to you with the next project where I have a little bit more time. So I think just having that open communication with my reps, like on both sides, like that's really what helps. And then saying like, hey, it's okay if it's a no, because sometimes it has to be because, I'm going to disappoint a client. So, let's come around on the next project that's going to work out. And like, hopefully they'll give me the correct answer. But really, that's just the way I go about it. And it seems to work. Hasn't burned me too much yet.
You can always lean on your boy Lauren, right?
Yeah.
Well, hey, y'all, this has been super fun. I'm sorry that, again, we went rapid fire, and then as usual, we just started blazing some guns because the topics took us elsewhere. So really appreciate everyone jumping in on episode 6. Happy birthday once again to David. So thanks for tuning in for Selling 7 Figures. You can join us next time when we're talking about the winning wisdom from these sales superstars. Have a great day. Happy birthday, buddy.